Hello, celestial citizens. I'm Britt Adkins, and welcome to Continuum. The universe is expanding, and so is the space industry. With all the new developments, launches, and announcements, it can be a lot to keep up with. So we're here to help. Whether you're a space enthusiast or just starting to look up at the stars, we're the space news outlet providing space news for everyone. Yes, flat earthers will call us fake news, and we wear that badge proudly. So without further ado, here's Continuum. And this week, we're joined by Helen Floersh. Helen is a journalist, celestial citizen, social media powerhouse, YouTube host, and all-around great person. So thanks for joining us, Helen.
Thank you for having me here today, Britt. And also joining us today is Mark Ciardi, film producer and founder and CEO of Select Films. Thank you so much for being here today, Mark.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Ciardi produced several sports films for Walt Disney Pictures, including The Rookie, Miracle, Invincible, The Game Plan, Secretariat, $1 Million Arm, McFarlane USA, and Safety. And we are so excited to have him here today to talk with us about his new film, A Million Miles Away, which is inspired by the real-life story of NASA flight engineer Jose Hernandez. So, yeah.
All right. Well, so Mark, we're super excited to have you here today. We definitely want to jump into some questions about A Million Miles Away. First, though, I would be remiss, Helen, if I didn't thank our sponsor that is making all of this happen. We have several sponsors that we want to thank. But first and foremost, Copper Moon Coffee, which, there we go. All right, we got it on camera there. So yeah, Helen and I are drinking out of these Copper Moon Coffee mugs. You can get them direct on their website. We've also got this sweet space coffee merch as well.
Swag.
Yeah,
Nice.
Bean Me Up, which is also one of their coffees, but also has this fun alien on it as well, which I like, very in theme right now. And of course, Helen is sporting the coffee/NASA meatball logo. So yeah, you can go to their website. You can use celestial code Celestial20 or coupon code Celestial20 and get 20% off everything. It's great coffee. So Mark, do you drink coffee?
I do. I'm going to look for one of those cups when I leave.
Yeah, I know. Well, you can take one of these. We've got plenty, but we'll wash it for you first. But anyway, but yeah, so thank you, Copper Moon Coffee, for making this episode and all of our other recent Continuum podcast episodes possible. We also want to give a shout out to Multiverse Media and also Colorado School of Mines Space Resources Program and Explore Mars. Thank you all for your sponsorship this season. So, Mark, let's talk about this film, which is awesome. I got a chance to actually see it in person, which was a really fun opportunity at a recent Friends and Family screening. And I know Helen has seen it as well recently. Very inspirational, very empowering. And I think so many people in our community and our audience are just absolutely going to love this film. Wanted to hear from you, what was the main inspiration behind A Million Miles Away and really telling this story?
Yeah, well, thank you for the compliment. We're really excited about the film. Well, we'll go back to the beginning. You know, you read off some of the films. A lot of the films I've done are about sports. I played baseball in my previous life and was lucky enough to have my first movie about a guy I played with in the minor leagues, Jim Morris, who was The Rookie. That led to Miracle, Invincible, several other Secretariat, several other sports films. And there was something about this story. Jose Hernandez, along with Rick Tellis and Benito Martinez, walked into our office a few years ago, and they were looking to partner with a producer, and I'd been involved in the movie McFarlane USA, and the original writer on that, Bettina, was writing this screenplay. So they came into the office, and we just fell in love with the story. You know, it wasn't about sports, but it felt kind of like a sports film, an underdog story. And NASA took the place of a sport, and you know, very excited to celebrate. You know, instead of something physical, something to do with your mind. And he was just so impressive when he came in, and we were like, we have to get this story, and we ended up becoming the producers to partner with them, and kind of a magical run since. You know, we had a lot of people help with this film and the writing of it, because it all starts with the screenplay, and there's years that go into developing that. So once that happened, and ultimately we ended up partnering with Amazon to make the film, and it's just been a great process so far.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well, and I think Jose Hernandez is just such an inspiring figure. And I know a lot of people really, not only aspiring astronauts or things like that, but people who are just want to work at NASA, want to become an engineer, a scientist. I think this is the kind of story that makes them feel like anything is possible if you work hard enough. I think one of the more amazing, pieces to this plot and this story are the 11 rejections to the NASA astronaut pool that Jose faced, and then being able to come back year after year and just reapply himself. Pretty incredible. But what was it like working with Jose in trying to make sure that you told the story from his perspective and his family's perspective as well?
Well, he was incredibly important because he was our, he was all the facts leading up to, what was inside him, what everybody knew, what people didn't know. So it's great about a film is you can kind of see when times are tough, or it's different than a documentary that will show certain segments, but you can dramatize emotional scenes, and I feel like the title "A Million Miles Away" is kind of have a double meaning, right? That's how far his dream was away. Not only the stars, but he worked in the fields, and came from not a lot of means, and the family were pickers, and he just had this dream, like a lot of kids, to go to space. It was then his story, which kind of takes on even more importance in that that can be difficult sometimes if you don't have the best schools to go to, or the encouragement, or that path, and he just wanted to be an astronaut, and he worked his way through school, became an engineer, kind of got his master's, and started applying to NASA. And it took at least 15 years. There were 11 rejections. On the 12th try he got in, and just shows you how, well, first of all, just working at NASA is one thing. Actually going to space is another. That's even a smaller amount of people, and kids grow up with that dream, and he was able to live it through hard work and perseverance, and it's just something everybody can take away from the story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why do you feel like it was important to tell this story in a narrative fictional format as opposed to a documentary?
This would make a great documentary, but I feel like a movie can really reach more people, and it just stands the test of time. People can always go back and find this movie years and years after its release. And his story, and I think Michael Pena, and he was the one actor we had in mind. There was no other. And when he read the script, he loved it, and it was just every single thing fell into place. And I think when movies turn out well, that you look back and you're like, man, we got all our first choices on actors. We got an amazing director, and we ended up shooting the whole movie in Mexico.
Really?
In and around Mexico City. We doubled a lot, and kind of what we saved shooting down there allowed us to kind of add more scope to the film, because we would have had to make several moves. Probably pick a place, whether it was shooting in California or New Mexico as a base, and then do we go to Houston? Do we go to Cape Canaveral? But we were able to make all the sets, and NASA was amazing, and Britt and all the folks over there with some of the stock footage. It just made it feel like you were there. I mean, obviously it's a period piece. He went up to space in 2009, so it's however many years later, 14 years later, 13 years later when we shot it. So none of that stuff exists anymore, right? There's no more shuttle.
Yeah.
So we had to, through, set design and production design and stock footage, really make it feel realistic. And we were able to kind of add, I think, great scope. Alejandra's from Mexico City, and she had put that in our ear of shooting down there early on, and as an exercise, we looked at doing it, and it was like, we're going to do the whole movie down there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Well, and so what was the process like in terms of, did you have much interaction with NASA? Were they very involved in how they also, wanted the story to be told, or were they pretty hands-off and it was mostly from Jose's perspective?
They want to, I think, protect everyone, and yeah, they read the script. I think a lot of it was to make sure of the accuracy. Britt was amazing, and so helpful and put us in touch with all the archivists there and pulling what we needed. And listen, they're part of the government and they're open to anyone. And so they were incredibly helpful and provided so much that went into our movie.
Absolutely. Well, and I can imagine too. I mean, this is a story that, I was somewhat familiar with the story ahead of seeing the film, but not the full scope and detail of it. So I think being able to share this now with a much wider audience, it's obviously, it should be a goal for everyone, and NASA included in that. So that's great that they were so supportive.
Yeah. I hope that it, is a movie for everyone, Certainly Mexicans, Mexican Americans, but everyone. It's a movie for everyone, and just talks about never giving up on your dreams, and those are themes that I love and kind of have been in part of movies that I've done over the years.
Yeah, you really are rooting for him, especially in the end. I felt myself, giving a fist to the air, like, yes, for the migrant farm workers, and they say this at the end. It was just really, and I'm sitting there ugly crying too, so I was glad I was alone actually. But yeah, it was, I really feel like, like you said, the themes are really universal. How much of a hand did, Jose have in, say, picking like Michael Pena, the person who's going to depict him in this film?
His name had come up early on, and I don't know, when you don't talk about anyone else, and that's always the one that we had collectively talked about when we all joined hands in the very beginning when we were developing the script and developing the pitch to go out with. It was always like Michael Pena. Yeah. So I had reached out to his manager and put it on his radar, and then when it came time, they had also heard about it, and Michael had heard about it. So when they read the script, they were in.
Yeah. I wonder if Michael is interested in space, because I recently saw him in Lost in Space. And I always find this interesting because a lot of times I feel like you do see actors that want to, they don't want to like always be in space movies, but I feel like they must have a little curiosity or passion for it, because they do tend to like gravitate occasionally towards, if they do one role, they do another. I don't know, I'd be really curious if he was attracted also because of the space story behind it.
Well, I know he was attracted to the story. Was he also in Martian? Was he?
I don't, actually I'm not sure, maybe.
I thought that he
definitely has more space films on his.
I want to look this up.
I know.
You might be
thought,
right.
But again, I have
He
the
was
worst
in,
memory.
I feel like there was
He had a part in that. Somebody.
Let me see.
Let's cut this out.
Yes.
Yeah,
Rick.
we gotta know.
Yeah, Rick Martinez.
Yeah. So.
Wow. Yeah.
So he must. It wasn't his first time in a suit.
It was not. Wow, that's some impressive, deep track knowledge there. That's great. But yeah, so I always wonder, because obviously, our community is, we love space. We have a, curiosity for it. And so I think it's always interesting when we kind of go into other industries, like the film industry or elsewhere, and you see that people, want to tell those stories. So I'm curious, from your perspective, this was the first space film that you worked on. Do you think there will be more? Do you want to tell more stories?
I'd love to do more. Yeah, there's great stories out there. It's such a great backdrop for a movie, and I was really inspired by Goodnight, Appy. I thought that was amazing.
That was good, yeah.
And it's all fine. I'm in the business of finding great stories.
Yeah.
And again, it just always seems to be that there's this underdog, plotting to it, and I think that's what people are drawn to. Is not the easy path, but it's how do people struggle and get around, difficulties, and I think people can connect with that.
Yeah. And do you always look in your films to find real people to base your stories off of, or would you ever do something that was, purely fictional? Or
Yeah, it depends. I just seem to be drawn more to true stories. I just, there's so many great ones, and a lot of them come to our attention, or we find them, or people, will come in with a great story, and that's my job to figure out if that can be sold. Would a studio want to finance this? It's a big investment, and there's a lot of stories that get developed and but never end up getting to be a film, and you're very lucky once someone says, okay, you're going on it, and not the easiest thing.
Yeah.
They're big investments.
That's interesting. What was the, do you remember the documentary that you had told me about? And I'm blanking.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was a short film, and it went to like NASA's what was the space? The one that the one that we had or you rather had a film in. Yeah.
Well, really, Evan. But yeah.
Evan. Shout out to Evan. Yeah. Cinespace.
Yeah. And
yeah,
so
that's great.
Anyway, but yeah, no, that's because there are so many of these astronauts have such rich stories. Yeah. In the case of Anna Fisher, obviously first mom to go to space, which I think is also interesting because in this film as well, I mean, it's like the family dynamics and having all, I mean, speaking as someone who has 4 kids, I'm just like, the idea of going to space, taking that risk, and then also just year after year, obviously all the time, energy, and resources to put into that as well. It's so, it's just like, it's so hard to imagine how difficult that must have been.
It's a big balancing act.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then, I mean, on top of that as well, with the tragedy occurring, it was just the space shuttle right Columbia. Before his flight, right?
Yeah. So, a few years before, and, there was questions about the space program continuing. So this was the mission right after that, and a lot of pressure, and and there's always in the back of your head, right? The safety issue, and just by having these amazing feats, there's always risk. But I mean, it was such a fun movie to explore and figure out the facts and how it all lined up, and the difficulty of becoming an astronaut. And I think that came through because really around the midpoint of the movie is when you find out he gets to go to NASA, and then it's kind of like, be careful what you wish for.
Yes,
because then the struggle really starts, and you got to leave his home behind, and he's got 5 kids, and really Adela, who's also kind of a co-hero in this movie, and added so much to it. Rosa Salazar was amazing.
So good.
The acting, really was amazing. Very happy with how it turned out.
Yeah.
Can't wait for it to come out.
Well, and I love that storyline too with Adela about like the restaurant as well, and kind of both of them really being able to find a way to realize both of their dreams. I mean, it took a long time to get there, which of course is like an important reminder to people to continue to persevere. But in the end, I mean, they really did achieve what they both set out to from the very beginning, which was amazing to see. And I also thought that the storytelling was very balanced in the way that it really, I think sometimes it's rare to see like very fully developed characters in addition to the lead. And so I think the fact that there were these really rich stories in addition to, Jose's story as well, I think that was incredible. And I appreciated that a lot because sometimes I think people miss out on that opportunity.
Yeah, I appreciated that as well as the, kind of the relationship between him and Kalpana Chawla. If I'm mispronouncing her. I love that addition, in the film. Was there any, was that something that was like from the beginning they knew they needed to include that relationship with them?
I think they had that special connection, right? They're both brown, and I think they both felt like, underrepresented in some ways, and it's now opened up, and you see a lot more diversity in NASA, and I just felt like they kind of had similar stories. So Jose really looked up to Kalpana, who was older and had already done a mission at that time, and she talks about how important it is for people like us to be involved in this. It just inspires a whole countries and people and women and everything, and I think they had this special connection and relationship because when he was struggling, she kind of picked him up and said, "This is important. You can do this." And they were friendly in real life, and tragedy, but certainly an inspiration.
Yeah.
Afterwards.
Yeah, I remember seeing that scene and wondering. I was like, "Oh wow! Like this is I wasn't expecting that." See, that's where the tears came in for me because that was not a part of the story that I had previously known. So I was, that was a bit of a surprise. Well, and it's interesting too now because obviously we're starting to see a lot more opportunities for space flight to kind of be extended more commercially or to civilians. I mean, we talk on our podcast a lot about how much that's actually opening up to the everyday person. But that being said, I do think it's interesting because I think the trend that will emerge is that we're going to see the really rigorous astronaut training specifically for Mars now, and maybe longer duration lunar missions as well. But it should be, I mean, it'll be a whole new crop of stories, I guess. Like they talk about the Mars generation. So
not far off from some of these movies that we've seen.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So I don't know. Maybe we got to get people to Mars, but then the films will follow, presumably. But anyway, but yeah, no. And so for everyone listening, when does the film come out? How do people watch it?
Yeah, it drops on Amazon Prime. It's a Prime original, and it can be seen on Amazon on September 15th. I think maybe even the evening of the 14th, but right down the 15th. It's the beginning of Latinx month, and just kind of has extra importance. And I don't know. Jose is just such an inspiration to be around, and loved having him. At the end of the film on set, and he's got a little scene in the film as well. Did you remember that? Closing the hatch. He was the one who closed the hatch.
Oh,
yeah.
Whoa!
And he says, "Good luck, Vato," or he goes, "Godspeed," or something like that. And they
I
kind of give a
remember
little,
that scene.
and he's like, "Thanks, Vato," or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's the
Wow.
real Jose.
Oh,
who
that's
closed the hatch.
cool.
That's a great cameo.
Yeah.
That's a great
Wow, that's amazing. Oh,
Nice.
cool.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
I
gotta
didn't
go back
realize
and
that.
watch
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Excited
and then
to
just
do
the
it.
film, just some of the real photos and
Yeah.
images of
Yeah,
him
yeah.
and his family, and you forget that the story's real when you're watching it. You're kind of, just swept away with the story, and then you're reminded, oh, this happened, and we spanned a lot of time in the film. Really, it takes from him graduating, getting his master's, all the way up to in 2009, and and that's why Michael Pena, who looks very youthful. He's kind of in the middle of that, and had to play, and little subtle things with hair and makeup and clothing and all those things that bring you back to that, even though it's 20 years ago, let's say, when we started. It's still, or more than that, 20 years from the time he went up in 2009. So really, you're spanning through the 90s, end of the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. So it was quite a feat.
It was. I was imagining that. Like, it's a challenge to keep, to really follow this person chronologically. 'Cause that's a long time to do that, but they did wonderfully.
Yeah.
So it turned out beautiful.
And what was the production process like? Like, how long did this film take? I mean, you had mentioned that you all did the whole film in Mexico, in and around Mexico City, but how long of a process was it from start to finish?
It's typically the process, once that you get a green light, is 3 months of prep, 3 months of shooting, and 6 months of editing, roughly.
Okay.
Sometimes it could be more or less on either end of it. But once we settled on Mexico, because we were maybe going to shoot the opening of the movie there, and Alejandra is from Mexico City, and there's a really vibrant, filmmaking community there, and we like to say we had the Narcos crew. Narcos was an amazing show.
Wow.
Yeah.
And just the crews are great down there. So when we looked into it and budgeted it, and initially we were going to bring in heads of departments from the U.S. and everyone down there's like, no, we don't need it.
Yeah.
And so aside from some of the producers and the actors, everyone was from Mexico, and amazing. I'd bring another movie down there in a heartbeat. It was really, fell in love with the city, Mexico City. We also went to Querétaro and San Luis Potosí, and shot at a BMW factory for NASA, which is
Really? That's
So we got the
that's
scope of the
wild,
film and pieced it together in a great way. And then our production designer, you just have to get really great people, and we had them. And there was a real joy and pride, with the crew and Jose's story. So there was a lot of meaning down there for everyone involved.
Yeah.
And it was just a beautiful place to shoot. Craftsmanship was unbelievable, and we're gonna do a premiere down there on Thursday, and excited to see everybody and have them see the film. So it's exciting.
And I take it Jose has seen the film at this point? Okay, yeah. So
he has now. Because I
Okay.
was going to say, the movie is, the screening that you came to was
Yeah.
that was the first time I'd seen everything finished.
Oh, really?
The effects, the music, everything,
Oh, wow.
final.
Yeah.
Colored.
Oh, that must have been a little
Yeah, it was
nerve-wracking.
great. Yeah, nah, you know,
I don't know, or
it's
maybe
just a
not
better
at this
version.
point,
Hopefully,
but-
a better version of what you've been
Yeah.
watching. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, because I'm trying to think about what it would feel like to sit down and watch a movie about your life. Like, I can't even imagine
Yeah.
that'd be like an out-of-body experience.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we showed him the first time up at Amazon, and it wasn't completed yet.
Okay.
It was, we still had some editing to do, and you want to get, obviously the person that the movie's about, you want to get him excited or her excited, and him and Adela came down, and they were just incredibly excited. And but along the way, he read a lot of versions of the script, and he had input and like, is this accurate? Jose, what do you think of this? Or he'd flag something.
Yeah.
So you had to kind of really, that's the years and years in developing a screenplay. That's where most of the time is spent. And then ultimately movies might or might not even get made. But I think we developed this for close to 3 years.
Wow.
There were 3 different writers that came in, including Alejandra at the end, and it was kind of like a relay race. Everyone added something amazing to it, and Hernan Jimenez came in after Bettina and did such a great job to take it to the next level, and then Alejandra came in and just added so much and really developed Adela's character, and that's, for me, besides Michael's performance, one of the joys of the movie. Is watching her, and sometimes. I've had a lot of stories where maybe the movie's about the male, the guy in the film, and the wife becomes a secondary character, and they can be similar. So you always want to try to give great scenes and input where they're not just the sage wife. So
Right.
So she did a great job with that, and she was really tough on Jose in the film and
Yeah, she was.
pushed him.
She was a
So-
great
love it.
character.
Oh, yeah.
She's strong.
Character.
She's obviously that in real life. So,
Wow. Yeah. No, I loved Adela's character. So I think we are going to move along to our sort of fun lightning round game show variety here towards the end.
This is where I fail.
Well, we will find out. Last thing though, on the film piece, like the closing question I have for you is just, what is the take-home message that you really hope that audiences watching this leave and walk away with?
Yeah, I think never giving up on your dream. I don't care what age you are. And when Jose, I think, got into NASA, he was 43, and there was years and years of failure and rejection, and he just didn't give up on his dream. I mean, listen, it's not to say that everyone's always going to get the dreams of their life, but like it's just pushing past that point and really going for it. And there's always something to that, and I think it just something that people like to watch and can get inspiration from. I remember watching Rocky for the first time. That was my favorite movie, of like just watching this guy like that was just so down on his luck, and good things can happen when you put the work in, and he certainly did that. And I mean, arguably becoming an astronaut could be the hardest thing. You see all the work that goes in, not only the intellect, but the physical.
Yeah.
And what Jose did, I mean, all the things that he had to do and learn just to kind of make his resume undeniable, from running marathons to scuba, master scuba diver, flying, learning Russian, all these things. And still,
incredible.
and then finally, delivering that message to Houston. And it's just, hopefully people can just be inspired and look at it as something that, you don't have to give up on your dreams.
Absolutely.
It will be. I definitely was.
Yeah.
It was great.
Good.
Yeah, likewise.
Congratulations.
I enjoyed it quite a bit. Okay, so this first game here is we're going to share a little bit of a lyric from a space song, and you've got to conclude the second half of the lyric. Okay, are you ready?
Sure.
All right, I'll do odds, you'll do evens?
Sounds good.
Okay, ground control to Major Tom.
That's one of my favorite songs. Bowie. Do you hear me, Major Tom? Do you hear me, Major
Actually, I think that could be in the second
might be
part
a
of the
Could be in the
song.
second
Yeah.
part. We might have to give it to you.
Yeah, I think we're going to give that to you. Our answer was your circuit's dead, there's something wrong.
There you go.
But yeah.
I know. I just skipped a verse.
Yeah, this is actually where you sing. This is what we wanted.
Yeah, that's
was
what we
rapping.
were trying to create here.
exactly. All right, number 2. She packed my bags last night, pre-flight.
I have no idea. You got it. Why don't you sing it? So
Go ahead,
I
Ellen.
was thinking about that, but now
I
I'm
can't
like,
sing.
I'm not gonna be able to remember. I can only remember the chorus. She packed my bags last night, pre-flight. Nope, that's not it. That's not gonna help you. Shall
you
we
guys
give
should
it?
play these.
Yeah, maybe we should
know, we
play
should,
a little.
Stop.
We'll get a copyright strike. That'll-
Yeah, we
you know, it's
definitely would.
YouTube.
Actually, we would. I'm not even going to attempt that. Well, we could give you
0
another hint.
hour. Oh, or I could just
Biopic would be another hint. As
I don't know.
It's 0 hour 9 a.m.
oh, okay.
Is the-
What was the movie?
Well, it's from Rocket Man.
No, it's finish the lyric. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but we
Yes.
finished the
Oh,
lyric,
from the
but we
movie
still need to
Rocket
tell
Man.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we gotta tell
Yeah.
at some point.
So-
But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. got it.
But so wait, so the whole lyric is she packed my bags last night, pre-flight, 0 hour 9 a.m. Okay,
right.
all right.
Yeah.
Rocket Man.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm floating in a most peculiar way, and the stars look very different today.
It's Bowie again.
Yep.
Yes.
Big fans of Bowie around here. Don't know what to say. This one's tough.
Can you hear me, Matrix? I don't know.
For here am I sitting in a tin can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Space Oddity. Nice.
No, I love Bowie.
All right.
Just bad at lyrics.
All good. Okay, we're good. Here's the next one. Let's see. Well, okay. All right. And I think it's going to be a long, long time till touchdown brings me round again to find. Yeah, you got it. What's the word?
Oh, I'm so bad at lyrics.
I
You
feel
got
like
me
you're
on the
doing a
spot.
much
I can
better job
hum
of
it.
teeing
If I
these
can
up.
hum it,
You
is that
did
good?
hum it.
Yeah, you did.
Half a point.
Half a point.
Yeah.
So
I'm not the man they think I am at home.
once again, Rocket Man.
Yeah.
All right,
Great song,
let's see
but-
here. All right, last one, and this one's a doozy. This one's
Yeah.
hard. No one's gotten it yet. No one's gotten it yet. You know what I'm talking about. All right, breathing in, you give me air. I'm living off your solar flare.
Well, if I didn't get the earlier one, I'm gonna get this. No idea.
This is a deep track. All right, this is Could You Be My Supernova Girl, Protozoa. It was a Disney film from the late 90s. Yep.
What's
Yep,
the film?
Supernova Girl. Or no, the film was
Tomorrow Now?
Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century.
Oh.
Yeah, and that was
Yeah,
the song.
no one's getting that. Except for the composer.
I have to
literally
try.
work on the film.
Somebody will at some point, and I might
Yeah.
just have a meltdown. Okay, second game here. This is our last one. All right, name that film. So we'll give you a quote from the film, something somebody said. Maybe to make it easier, we'll give you two options. Okay, so you'll have to pick which film it's from. Okay. Language is the foundation of civilization. It is the glue that holds a people together. It is the first weapon drawn in conflict. Is this from Contact or Arrival?
Ooh. Contact?
Arrival.
Really?
Arrival. Yeah. I know.
I can see why you
It
would
could
have
be-
thought that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be
I
both.
didn't recall that. I knew Arrival better, and I didn't recall it. So,
I loved Arrival, but it definitely like is hard to watch. Like that's one where like you have to really. It's like
It's
deep.
one I haven't seen. So
Oh,
I'll have to-
Helen.
Yeah.
Helen, you got to see Arrival.
I know. I don't know if I can handle it. Okay.
All right, you want to
I'm
do?
doing well at this.
We'll get you one.
Okay.
We got the
I
humming
like multiple
one.
choice, though.
Yeah.
Multiple
Keep
choice
those
is
going.
good. Okay. Let's just do this next one then. Okay. So we used to look up at the sky and wonder at our place in the stars. Now we just look down and worry about our place in the dirt. Is it Interstellar or The Martian?
Interstellar.
Nice. Good job.
Very good.
Okay, next one. I don't want to come off as arrogant here, but I'm the best botanist on the planet.
Martian.
Oh,
Yeah.
all
There
right.
we go.
Didn't even
All right,
need to
didn't
give
even need to do
choices.
that.
Okay.
Cool. Let's see. There isn't enough life on this ice cube to fill a space cruiser. See if you can get that.
Do I get any choices?
You can have choices. Just wanted to see if we could repeat our past success here. Okay, so it's either The Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars, or let's go with let's see, Moon.
It's called Moon?
Yeah.
Is that a movie?
Yeah, that's a movie.
First one.
Is that a movie? I've never seen this movie.
I just
first
were
one.
commenting on the game strategy.
Well, you did this.
You're
so
making
we're
me not
looking-
want to pick that. So we'll go with the first one.
It was definitely.
It's either this first one that I told you right away.
You started with that one.
I started with that one. We're trying to help you out. We're trying to build you up here, you know?
Exactly.
Oh, that's
All
great.
right.
Lyrics
Okay.
For 2000.
All right. Let's see. Last one here. Okay. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
That's a great way to end this game.
It's a great way to end this game.
All
There you
right.
go.
Perfect.
Better on the movies than the music.
Yeah. Hey, you know, the music one is tough because you
It's
got to come
hard.
up with like multiple words to complete the lyrics. So it's not just like guessing
Yeah.
one thing. It's like you got to
Yeah.
have the whole package there. Okay. Well, anyway, I think that's a wrap for today. Mark, thank you so much for joining us here on
Thank you.
Continuum
Thanks for having me.
Podcast. And Helen, thank you for co-hosting.
Yeah, absolutely. And congrats again. Thank you. It's
yeah,
great
and-
in this movie.
Mark, yeah, amazing, super inspiring film. I know our community is absolutely going to love this this film, and I'm so excited to hear everybody's response to it when it releases, which again is
September 15th.
awesome.
On
Okay,
Prime.
nice. So, folks, you heard it here first, or you will. We're releasing this a couple days before the release of the film, so we hope you check that out. And thank you again to our sponsors, Copper Moon Coffee. Gotta get the ad placement here. Right? And then all of our other sponsors, which I already named one, so I don't know if we need to say them again. But anyway, maybe we do. Maybe we should contractually. All right, Multiverse Media, Colorado School of Mines. Tim's cracking up. This is terrible. I should just restart that. Thank you also to our sponsors, Multiverse Media, Colorado School of Mines Space Resources Program, and also Explore Mars, in addition to Copper Moon Coffee. So thanks so much. Thanks, Mark. Everyone, check out A Million Miles Away.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Great.
Bye.
And as a reminder, if you want to check out our original features, head to our website, www.continuum-hq.com. Now, this episode was also filmed with video, so to hang out with us in the studio, head to the Celestial Citizen YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Instagram at continuum.hq and on Twitter at continuum_HQ. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast by subscribing to the paid version of our Substack newsletter so you can stay up to date with what's going on in space. You can find links to all of these in the description of this episode, and we'll see you in 2 weeks for the next one. This is Continuum, one giant leap every other week.